Yo, 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 everybody. What is up? Welcome back to another episode of the What Now podcast. Spencer and Zach are back at it again. You already know, in our Dolo cast. What's up, bro?
The Dolo cast. Everyone's favorite.
Yeah.
Everyone's favorite.
Yeah, we're excited. We've been having a lot of guests on, so shout out to all of our new guests. We got a lot of cool episodes coming back out. Again, having technical difficulties with producing the shows. For those of you guys who are thinking about starting a podcast, recording is fun. Producing is difficult sometimes. So, Zach, what do you want to get into, dude? What do you got?
Today, we're kind of taking a different spin. So if you listen to the business podcast, like I'm sure most of you do, a lot of them are talking about their strategies and what they're going to implement in 2025, which is something we've already done. But I think what's important too, from the brief time Spencer and I have been in business, is continuing to expand on what goes well or what you've been doing well and how you're going to really maximize or scale what you've been doing. So today we're going to talk about what went well in maybe 2023 and 2024 and how we're just going to continue to leverage that to the best of our abilities. So Spence, what would you say are one or two things for you that come to mind that you're like, man, if we can scale this, it'll be really, really good for us?
Yeah, well, right now, probably the thing that comes to mind the most, a ton of people have been hitting me up, but Patch and HubSpot has probably been our most successful thing that we've added this year that has taken away a lot of the day-to-day work. I think our systems, dude, are like really solid. We were just talking about that. We just went away to Carlton Landing where Kate and I got married for our team planning meeting, and we brought the team out there and we hung out and had a good time. And we really just talked about it. And like, dude, our systems are so simple, and we have so many things that are really automated that it really like helps our staff and really us as the doctors be super involved with people's cases, and it generates like a really healthy work-life balance because there's not like a ton of extra work for us to do when we are done with patient hours. Like there's a lot of back end things that need to be done. Like, yeah, I can be writing more emails. Like that's like working on the business. But in terms of like working in the business, a lot of our things are automatically tracked or automatically calculated. And there's just like a couple clicks. So, and HubSpot has been like a really big thing for that. It tracks all of our care plan stuff. It follows up with all of our patients for us. It does a lot of those kind of things. And then same thing with like my Excel, like stat tracking sheet and a lot of the stuff, dude. We just have a lot of things automated, like, and that's been really good. And so I forget let me look up what this quote is, but I just talk about like the art of subtraction, right? Like, I forget what this quote is talking about, but it's like the key to success is not by adding more, but it's by doing less things, right? And like the art of subtraction is like the way to true addition in terms of like your life. So really, I think that's like the biggest thing for me going in this next year is just trying to figure out like what in our systems, what in our processes, what in our overhead and our budget, like what can we do in this next year in just terms of subtraction, like how many of like what is the waste, like, and just trying to cut out all the waste.
Yeah. I think we talked early on like how we compared business to physiology. And I think that's a great way. So what are some things that, at least right now when y'all went up to Carrollton Landing, that like stuck out as waste, if you would say?
Well, I think the biggest thing, like the one that we like spend the most time workshopping on, like as a team, in terms of taking things away, is actually like our whole doctor's report, like our report of findings visit. We're going to move down to a 1-day report process where people will come in and they will just get their recommendations right then and there. We'll go over the scans right then and there for them. And that's because, a lot of people, they want to walk away with something tangible to get. I think it's good to have a day 2 report, especially when you're starting out, as you're like feeling out like your communication, feeling out your care recommendations, feeling out and building some confidence. But I feel like once you get a little seasoned, your office has some reputation. Really, it's just taking those 2 days because, we block out an hour for each one of those visits, an hour for the day 1 to connect with people. And then, we schedule for 30 minutes for the day 2, but in reality, it's really an hour. Like, it's 40 minutes or something like that by the time that people get in here and all that kind of stuff. And, And really, I mean, people just want to know, like, hey, am I in the right place and can you confidently help? They'll learn chiropractic as they go. And so instead of me trying to like basically read them the whole 1927 Stevenson textbook at the first visit, we're just going to send them some videos beforehand and some articles beforehand specific to them. And then we'll send them some stuff after. And that's all automatically done. And then they'll learn chiropractic, through the table talk and everything like that. And then what that does is it just gives you more points of connection rather than like I'm just speaking out of redundancy. That's one of the things that we're doing, and it's going to help us help more people. It's going to help us grow the office. It's going to help us save a lot of time. Yeah, and so I mean that's probably our biggest thing.
The more I've been, because this is obviously a big thing, I think in our coaching group, because a lot of people are transitioning to that. And the more I've thought about it, the more I've thought about like the times I've been upset as the buyer of like, hey, I want to go start this thing, or I want to go buy it basically then. And then you go there and they're like, no place really ever tells you like, yeah, come back in 48 hours or when it's good for you. It's like if you're buying a car, like any big purchase, you're like, I want to buy this now. And so the more I've thought about it, the more I'm like, okay, especially for our clinic, it's just too much of a no-brainer. So that's awesome that y'all are implementing. What does that look like for your team? What does it look like? What did your team feel like when you presented that idea to them?
They were like, well, that's nice because then we're doing less work. It's like, because like there's a lot of prep that we do into the day 2 prep. Like they have to text people to follow up and reconfirm their visit. And then we have to make sure that their folder is built and all that stuff is done. And then they have to make sure that we get the folder as the doctors on like at least the day before or like the morning of, like, and then now we're rushing to finish folders and stuff. Dude, like, let's just do it like right there on the spot. Like, I mean, it's not like you have to like, for like super complicated cases, since like we do see like perfect storm cases. Like I just had a kid that came in, he's got Erb's palsy, so he's like paralyzed in his left arm. For these like bigger intense cases, then yeah, we'll always do a 2-day process. But the way that 2-day process will work, it'll be an hour-long virtual call, because then it gives the parents like a safe space to talk and go through the report and everything. It gives us time to educate and all of those things, to where then when they bring the kid in to get the scans and their care plan, then the parents are already kind of on the same page. Right now, we do them in 3 days, where we do the 1-hour virtual call. The parents come in, they get the scans, and then we say see you later and all that stuff. So like, why would we not just give them recommendations there? I already know what things are looking like. And now at this time, like I've already seen so many scans of so many things, and you kind of already get a good pulse of like, okay, this is like what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So,
and I think too, like the more you talked about, like you got to be in it for a little bit to really know like what recommendations. But I feel like you probably might be the same for you in a pediatric office. But typically by the time I finish the history before we've even done the scans, I already know the recommendation. I'm either down to 2 and the scan's going to determine that, or I have my 1 recommendation.
Yes, I mean it's pretty much just like, dude, I know what I'm expecting the scans to look like. If it throws me a curveball, then like it's like, okay, well, I didn't expect that. But I mean, really the biggest thing like with the scans is the HRV is going to tell you how long the care plan is going to need to be, and the intensity of the tension and inflammation that you pick up is going to let you know how many times like a week you need to see them, like, right? Like if it's a super intense distortion pattern like in the nervous system, yeah, you need to see them 3 times a week. And then if the HRV is super crazy low, or they're like super sympathetic dominant, then yeah, I'm going to need to see you for 4 to 6 months or something like that, versus 2 to 3 months. And one of the things that I'm most excited about to move toward that, and what Caitlin and I have realized, is that since we're the business owners and we're also people, and we came from making like literally, we were looking back at our bank account and reflecting last year. At this point last year, we were making collectively $2,000 a month, like that we were living off of, which is like tough, bro. Like, and so like we had been budgeting our like money a lot. And so what we ended up doing is we were making these recommendations like with one hand on this person's wallet. And what we were ended up doing is like, yeah, I know that this kid could do better with 4 months of care, but it's kind of expensive for 4 months of care. So I'm going to give them 2 months of care and then hope that they sign on to wellness later on. And it leads to this just like uncertainty. But like if you only have like, you have 6 minutes to figure out their care plan and like present it to them, you can't second guess. And so it'll honestly probably get us better results. It'll help us serve people better, because we won't be like doing that dance like before. There's so many times like where my like lack mindset has come into play, where I'm literally like, I know that they need 36. but I don't know if they can afford it because they said they're remodeling their house. And so like, I'm gonna, like, I guess I'm gonna give them 18, like,
Yeah.
or something like that. You know, like
Mhm.
it just gets in the way.
And I've definitely never done that, so shame on you. No, I'm just kidding. I'd do that too. I think what's interesting on that, there was a point I was about to make. This is why I'm taking methylene blue to help I realize I have forgetfulness. Never mind. Totally
But
forgot it.
yeah, dude, I mean, I think that like it really just takes like a lot of extra reps and stuff. And then I think that like I think that people will like really appreciate it more too because you're just like you're looking at their stuff like really for the first time, the same with them. And so then you're
Mhm.
just like totally honest. And like for
Yeah.
us, like really like our whole like transparency thing and everything is like one of our values is like we just want to be as upfront and honest and like do things with the most integrity as possible. I think a lot of times people think integrity is the same as humility, and like a lot of times humility is taken as shame, right? People think that, oh, I'm feeling shame, but oh no, I just feel this way because I'm humble. No,
Yeah.
like
It's
you
one of the
feeling shame around asking for a $4,000 care plan is not you being humble. It's you being scared. And whenever you're scared and you hold yourself back from giving your people what they actually need, you're doing them a disservice, and that's out of integrity. And so, yeah, dude, when we look and you're like, man, this guy needs 36, like that's what it's going to
exactly.
take. Um,
Yep. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that's what you have to do.
Yeah. I think that the the point I was gonna make too was I think there can be times, and I'll take a slice of humility here, but there can be times when someone doesn't come back for 2, 3 days, and you go through a report, and you're like, in your head, you're like, in the exam, you're like, oh, I need to bring this point back up to tie chiropractic to this, whatever's going on, or how their nervous system is dysfunctioning in this way. And then you go through the report, you're like, crap, I never got to that point because it's been 48, 72 hours. So then while it's fresh, everything is just coming out a lot smoother rather than you trying to like in your head with the 3 patients coming in before the report, you're like trying to remember, okay, when I go into this report in 20 minutes, I got to bring this stuff up. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think that the biggest thing is that you have to, when you like do a day 2 report, like you always like get in your doctor brain like way too much. And then you're just like,
Mhm.
and so this means this and this and this and this and this and this and this, and the neurological subluxation and the implication of the dysautonomia affrontation that you blah, 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 blah. And people like, dude, they really don't care about that. I listen, I actually pick this up like from my dentist, like a lot. Like I pay attention. I mean, obviously as a business owner and a healthcare provider, we
Yeah.
like hyper analyze like
Yeah.
at least I do, like other businesses, other healthcare providers and the way that they say things, because all of the things that they say are really intentional. The way that you say whatever, you know, is all intentionally crafted. And even if they're not intentionally saying it now, they at one point had to train themselves to speak like that. Dude, my dentist is literally like, yeah, you have like a bad tooth that has a lot of germs, and where the tooth sits in your mouth, it can get infected. Like he's talking about like a root canal, but instead of him saying like, you know, molar number 7 and you're in like next to
Mhm.
your whatever, blah, 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 has a this in the anterior ramen, you know, who knows? Like all these things. He's literally just making it to where like, it sounds like it's a third grader, but no, it really is that simple. It's like, you
I
have a
think
bad
then
tooth.
you don't overcomplicate it. I think we can all remember as we all have times where people come in and they're like, I think it's my L7 that's jacked up. And you're like, who overcomplicated what you have going on? Where you're, saying those kind of things. It's like there's just
What?
no need.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of people though that say like, "Oh, I have sciatica," but then they point. I mean, one person's like, "The sciatica in my toe," or like, you know, "Hey, I have sciatica and it's on the front of the leg." Like, sciatica is not in the front of the leg. That's femoral nerve entrapment. But like, there's like, it doesn't matter what you say. People don't remember what you say; they remember how you made them feel. And so they can slowly get that education over time, but we don't have to be blasting it. Like, the same thing with the scans, dude. Like, I literally just started telling people, like, instead of being like, this is heart rate variability, and it measures the autonomic activity index of your body. And what it does is it measuring the neurological adaptive capacity to subluxation. And when you're subluxated, it decreases well, no, that's ridiculous. Like, this measures your energy, like the battery in your phone. When you're on lower energy, your body shuts down sooner. This measures tension. If your muscles are too tight or too loose, like guitar strings, they don't work right. And this is inflammation. Just like sweat, if you're working super hard, you'll be super inflamed. And like, that's what I say. And people are like, okay, that makes sense. And you're like, it's going to put it in your report card. And it's going to give you a score out of 100. If your score sucks, you need a lot of tutoring. And like, that's what we've been saying to people. And it's been great. And it's been shortening up my time a lot. Like, I'm not wasting people's time. Like, these people are coming off of work or they're taking
And
their kid out of school.
they typically have less questions because it makes sense.
Yeah,
To
well, like,
me
and then
to me, I know, like, if I'm doing maybe this is wrong of me thinking, but I feel like I'm typically like, my barometer is how many questions are they bringing up during the exam or during the report. Because to me, I should be explaining it in, one, a way that communicates it well back to them, and two is, like, not overcomplicating it. Because, I mean, people don't buy what they don't understand. So,
yeah, see, and, like, that's my issue is that my parameter is how many questions are they asking is because, like, I have a lot of questions for them, so I want them to reciprocate that and have a lot of questions for
mm,
me. And so then what I end up doing is I end up digging myself a hole where I'm
ah,
like, "Does your baby have a tongue tie?" And they're like, "Oh, what's a tongue tie?" I'm like, "Oh." Like, and then I'm talking about
yeah,
tongue ties and, like, methylation and all that kinda stuff, and the people are like, "Dude, I don't know, like, my baby just spit up," like,
yeah,
so
right.
it's like only giving them that info, like, when they need. So, yeah, I mean, that's what we're getting into. What about you? What are you looking to what do you think worked really well for you this last year?
I think a big thing, I don't know if we talked about it, was our going back to digitally recorded progress videos.
Mhm.
Was huge. So a little backstory there. Our retention, our conversion to wellness from probably April to August was at like 60 to 75%, which is really not great. Like before then, we were converting at like 85%. So I was just like, what is going on? Like these people are loving care, they're getting great results. We never really had an issue converting onto wellness. And so we went back to the Loom videos. Initially, we were doing Zoom, and that's a big reason I got rid of it, was because with Zoom, when I would record a progress video, it would take 20 minutes for that to upload. So I couldn't just send it right away. But shout out Dr. Nikki showing us Loom, and they're just like super easy to record a quick 4 or 5 minute video, send it off to their email, and people have loved it. And that's a really great time to educate. So typically, I don't dive into HRV very much during the report, but then during that progress eval is when I'll dive into it a bit more. So just continuing on with that and really working on retention. That's something I fell away from. And so continuing to add in certain gifts, certain parts of their plan where we'll send something in the mail or when they convert to wellness, sending them a gift in that sort and really just continuing to craft the patient experience. But that was something that went super, super well, was utilizing Loom for those progress videos, and our retention, our conversion to wellness has gone from 60 to 75% back up to 98%, which has been killer for the last half of the year.
Yeah, it's always good, like, whenever you have those Loom videos and, like, people watch them a couple times and you can see, like, when people watch them, and then when
Mm-hmm.
you go into the report for their graduation, they're like, "Oh, yeah, my scans look awesome. Like, this is really cool." Like, they already know, like, what their scans look like, and you already are, like, pre-framing every single time. So, like, yeah, what we wanna do is we wanna, like, maintain this over time and those kind of things. What does your retention strategy, like, look like? Like, what are you gifting people? What are you sending them? At what point are you doing that?
So right now, there's not much to our retention strategy in regards to, I mean, I say that and I'm comparing myself to, I just finished reading Never Lose a Customer Again, where like
Oh, god.
it's like super beefed up, right? But I mean, that's what it takes.
What is
Um,
actually, I haven't read that book. Tell me about it. Like, what are some of the like, what's the key points?
Basically having some sort of touch point, if you will, or gift or strategy around every single part of a customer journey. So, and a big thing that stuck out to me was I think he calls it the activate phase, where someone is, for like a chiropractic, they've already come into the office, they signed on to care. Like, what does the activate phase look like while they're going throughout care? And so that's a big thing I want to hit on more, is like more email drip sequences, sending them, like we have Sked in our office, and a tool that Sked has that we are underutilizing is they have like a smart reply. So our patients say I have certain stretches or core exercises that I recommend to practically everybody. And so they can text our number core and it'll send them a direct video, like almost like mini chat kind of. And so that would be part of the activate phase. And there's a bunch of different phases. I haven't like broken it down quite yet, but just having those different things that you can gift to amplify that experience. And so for us, like, we send a thank you card, like handwritten thank you card, to everyone that signs on to care. But I realize we don't send anything when someone signs on to wellness care, which is almost even more important, I feel like. And so we're going to start sending almost like a gift box with a coffee mug and a t-shirt to everyone that signs on to Wellness. And then we'll have a card that we send out with stickers on the 18th visit, and then we'll continue to work in different things on top of that. And then we send
Nice.
birthday cards with a lottery ticket, which people love. It's like a $2 scratch off.
That's pretty cool.
And some other things as well.
Nice. Yeah, right now what we do is we send a card when people sign on to care, but like you're saying, like, you need another like touch point, like, 2 months into care or something like that. And that's so easy. Like, the good thing about Patch is, like, dude, it makes it so easy. Like, because Patch not only automates your front facing stuff, so it automates all the things that your people get when, like, their education and stuff, but it also automates all of your back end things, like what you can ask your team and like what you can do that. And like, the downfall of Patch is that it's a PT focused, like a physical therapy focused software and like service. And so for chiropractic, you kind of have to tweak it a little bit. And like, the thing about chiropractic is, like, dude, every chiropractic office is so different. Like, our offices are like vastly different, even though we have like similar business models. And so like, what structure and like what tasks need to be done and how we answer the phone and all that stuff is like totally different, which I think is so cool, just because like it really does matter like what office you go to see a chiropractor. I mean, I think the same thing with a physical therapist, but I don't know enough about their business to comment on it. But yeah, so it just takes me some work. I think that's like my biggest focus is, like, if I'm not working on the podcast, I'm going to be working on HubSpot in marketing next year. What do you feel like was your biggest weakness in 2024, and how are you going to lean into it in 2025?
I would say, in truth be told, the one that has stuck out the most was leadership. I think I wasn't the leader that I know I'm capable of being, and I can easily throw out, well, there was the wedding and this and that, but I just wasn't, I wasn't conscious of my time, but also my team's time, and I didn't do enough to build up that camaraderie and it really equipping them with the skills and the knowledge to join me in accomplishing our mission and our visions. So I would say leadership is the big one. We're going to lean into that. I've already been really recrafting, shout out Claude, but with Donald Miller AI, basically, to recraft our story brand, to make it clear, to make it simple, so that not that they can understand it, but also repeat it, so that when they're in conversations with potential networking groups or screenings, it's just really simple and really easy for them.
Bro, Donald Miller actually built out his own AI called Story Brand AI, where it does a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to be signing up for it.
Yeah, took a look at that for sure.
Drops January 14th. It's going to be pretty sweet.
But yeah, I realized with like the lack of leadership, I realized I was placing too much emphasis on myself, and then I would get upset when my team would not meet my standards that I hold for myself. I'm like, well, I've never shared with them that, and those type of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, like, for me, it's probably leadership as well, and marketing. Like, we're not doing nearly enough marketing, and we're not doing nearly enough.
Doing that Wealthy Practitioner Codex, I was like, oh yeah, we're doing so much for marketing. And then I went to fill that in, and we had like 4 things filled in. I was like, oh shit, we're not doing it. We're doing that.
Well, dude, for me, is I just don't spend enough. Like, it's just like, we always say, like, like your dollars go where you value. And we just signed on Lucro to help us like with our financial strategy. And we spend 3% of our budget on marketing annually. And like, it's like not enough, dude. He's like, yeah, it's like, he's like, if you're at where you're at and you're not marketing, he's like, once you start marketing, like, it'll be crazy. I mean, that's really where we're going to try to lean into, but I think we're going to be marketing. Like, for those of you guys who are listening, and you're like trying to say like, oh, I don't know enough about marketing, or how do I market, or I'm posting on social media and that is my marketing. You should go to Jared Moon's website, jared.com, JERRED.com, and take his 3 free marketing courses that he has. They are awesome, and they're free right now. At the beginning of the year, or like in a couple months, he is going to be locking it up for only subscribers. So you should take his marketing course because they are free. He does $25 million a year in online business, and that's what he does. So I would highly suggest taking it. Yeah, it's so free. Like, it's free. You'd be crazy not to take it. And I'm working through it right now, and it's really good. So, and especially if you're using the Patch system, Jared is like a co-owner in the Patch company. And so these are the strategies that he is putting out. Like, it's fire. You should be taking it for sure.
As a listener of the podcast, I'm taking note. I'm going to be signing up for it right now. So, well, not right now.
You don't even have to sign up for it. It's just on the website as a video. Like, there's nothing to sign up for. You don't have to give your email. You don't have to put your phone number. It's just on the site. It's crazy. So yeah, but I mean, yeah, in terms of leadership too, I feel like, we can always be better leaders. But one of the biggest lessons that I learned is like, you really need to give your people space to safely give you feedback as a leader and safely like say what they want, because they're not going to try to like out you or like call you out like in the middle of your office or like in your day to day. And your team is not going to be the ones to come up to you and say, hey, I think we should talk about this. Like, you have to give them that space to give feedback, and you should welcome it as a leader. And because, dude, like I had like we sent out an end of year survey, and I mean, I learned a lot about my team members that I like had some inklings of, but I didn't like have like in writing or know exactly how they felt. And so then by getting that feedback from them, like it just helps me appreciate them more, but it just brings our team closer together because you know exactly how everybody feels and there's no like tiptoeing around each other.
Yeah. I think that's really big. Is there anything else that you're continuing to expand on from 2024?
To expand on in 2024? Yeah, dude. I mean, we're just going to be doing more of what we're already doing. Like, there's nothing really that we need to change. There's nothing that we necessarily really need to, like, yeah, dude, like we're just doing more of what we're good at. And like, that's the thing about why I love like having like a principled chiropractic office, like, and where we only give chiropractic, is because, dude, I mean, at the end of the day, then it's just more chiropractic, like always at the end of the day, serve more people, do more chiropractic and speak more chiropractic. Like, there's no, like, that's why it's so simple. Like, oh man, I don't know what I'm going to market on. Well, dude, market on chiropractic. Like, I don't know what my lead magnet's going to be on. It's going to be on chiropractic. Like, I don't know what my ad should say. It should talk about chiropractic. Like, I don't know what, like, I don't have to market soft wave, and I don't have to market red laser, and I don't have to market nutritional counseling, and I don't have to try to sell people all of these things. All I have to do is tell them like, hey, listen, like, your body works better when it's clear of nerve interference. And like, the way we do that, chiropractic adjustment. Like, yes, we can guide you but I don't want to be the one-stop shop for everybody. I don't want to be, not yet. Until once I get my commercial building, then we will be. But
Nice.
I, as a practitioner, won't have to be that person. I, as a business owner, do want to be that one-stop shop for everyone. So
that's a whole nother episode in and of itself. So I don't want to dive too far into that one. But
yeah, I mean,
it's a good point.
Dude, yeah, that is a question. that is a question. Yeah. What about you, dude? What are you trying to continue with?
I think a big one that has come through is really like thinking of our ideal client. And not that we have two, but we have like a tier 1, which is like our ideal client, and then we have like a tier 2. And so we are optimizing our schedule, our patient hours, so that we can best serve both of them, because their schedules are actually very similar.
Tell me about it.
So we tell you about what, the hours?
No, tell me about your ideal clients. Like, explain like to people like what that looks like for you.
Yeah. So we'll call him Logan, as tier 1, 5 to 55-year-old professional with ambitious goals, whether that's goals in the gym, or goals professionally, or goals family-wise. And he remembers what it was like to feel good and perform at a high level, but because of pain and limitations, he can no longer do that. And he's looking for a guide to get him back to accomplishing and performing at a high level. So that's tier 1. Most likely is C-suite entrepreneur, high performer, and really doesn't have much time to be places other than work or with his family or working out. And so optimizing our systems for that. And then tier 2 are middle school and high school athletes. So that kind of ranges all over the place. That's why it's tier 2, because it's not nearly as local focalized or focused in. But what we realized is, in our area, being 20, 30 minutes away from both Dallas and Fort Worth, a lot of those tier 1 ideal clients like Logan are commuting to Dallas or to Fort Worth, and they get home at 6 o'clock. They leave their house at 8 and they get home at 6, which is when we've been open in the past. So they want to come in, but they can't. And so we are actually going to be opening. We've been open at 8 a.m. 2 days a week, and that 8 to 9 a.m. time is always slam packed, which is awesome. So we're going to keep that, but we're also going to be open until 7 p.m. 2 days a week as well, so that those that are making that commute can make it into our office. So I'm excited to expand upon that.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I really think that they go kind of hand in hand because, I mean, somebody like your ideal client, Logan,
Their
right?
kid.
He probably has kids that are that age,
Yep.
that are in middle school, right? So really, you're still speaking to him because him and his wife are going to be the ones that are making the decision for their kid anyway. I mean, that's kind of how we talk about it, right? Like our ideal client is not a 6-year-old with like a constipated 6-year-old with ear infections.
Because you're not going to
Our
talk
ideal
to them.
client is actually the constipated 6-year-old with ear infections mom. And because mom is the one that we need to be talking to, not the kids, right? And so that's why I like doing events like, like handing candy out or like playing a game at the school and stuff is really fun for us, but it's not like an acquisition event. That's more of like hey, we're just here to support the community type of thing. We're hosting like our moms groups and stuff like that. Like that's where we really try to hone in on like those ideal clients and like lean into them even more. And so Kay does a great job of that. I think, yeah, I mean, especially like for you guys who are listening that kind of open at the same time as us, I think it's a really great time for you to just continue to refine like your vision and your mission and your core values, but also revisit who is our ideal client, who gets the best results, who are we speaking to? Because I think as your practice evolves, you'll notice a lot of these similar trends happening in your patients and in your clients and the people who really stick around. And so continuing to like hone in like, hey, where do they live? How much money do they make? How much time do they have? What their work schedule is like? All of those kind of things. And so, and that's going to depend on, where are you opening and all of those things. So,
And I think it's okay for it to evolve. I think that's a big thing. I was talking with a friend last week about it, how it's like you get into practice and you're like, I think this is who I want to see. And then you're 2.5, 3 years, 5 years into it, and you're like, I really don't like serving them, but there is this one niche that I really like to serve. And for us, we've always kind of been that way, but I've never really refined it and dove headfirst into like ideal client, because for a little bit I was trying to be like that catch-all for everyone, and I just had that realization probably in the last 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, dude, your practice changes a ton. Like if you talk to people who have been in the game like 20 years, like nobody is doing the same thing that they've been doing 20 years ago. Because you consistently level up. Like, I mean, one of the biggest lessons that I learned is when I worked for Dr. Steve at Best Life as his intern. I asked him, I was like, dude, they used to have an adjustment only practice. And I said, why'd you get an insurance and like all these therapies? He's like, because he's like, my kids started getting older and they started having sports. And I wanted to continue to make the money I was making and grow the office at the same time without having to put in more work. And he's like, and so the way to, he's like, I can't charge $180 to $200 one adjustment, but what I can do is charge $200 to someone's insurance for these therapies. And right, he's like, so I'm still seeing the same amount of people, but I'm increasing my OVA like 5x, 10x sometime. And he's like, that's how it gets me there. He's like, he's like, I still love chiropractic, but like, this is how he's like, I love my kids more than I love chiropractic. And that's a fight that you guys have to internalize. And I think I would be in the same boat. I would say, my family is going to come before chiropractic. And, so, I would make that decision too, if it came down to it.
I think it's like something I know you and I have talked about, just how we're so judgmental in school. And then you get into business and you're like,
I see why they would do that.
See why you made that decision.
Yeah. And you're like, dude, good on you, bro. Like,
yeah.
Same. I feel the same way. Like, if you asked me 3 months ago, hey, would you do 1 day new patient visits? Absolutely not. That's just all you're doing is selling them the same cookie cutter plan. And then today, I'm like, yeah, that's the only way I see myself doing it going forward. So I think it's good to change, dude. And I think you have to, as in terms of a leadership, bringing it full circle, you have to set that expectation that things will change as time moves on and the office grows for your team. And like get their pulse on it and keep them, like you said, like join you in the growth versus like just having them work there. Because like if things change too much, it'll overwhelm them and they're like, everything is just changing all the time. And they're like, this is not what I signed up for. I signed up for this job, but now it's totally different. And you got to let them know like, hey, listen, like the bus is going here now. And so like if you feel like you're in the wrong seat or if you're on the wrong bus, then it's okay to get off. Like, keeping that open communication, or it's like, this is where we're going. Are you excited for it? And they'll be yes. I think that's like a big thing that I've learned as of recent.
All I got.
yeah, that's about all I got too, man. So, all right, guys, thanks so
There's
much for
too many
listening to the
tangents I
Whatnot
can go.
podcast. Yeah, it's a big
Yeah.
tangent potential episode.
I had like 3 or 4 points just off what you were just saying, and I'm like, no, I think we're good.
Thanks so much, guys, for listening to the show. We'll be back soon with another episode. Peace.